My mother's early childhood, she had a very close family. She lived in Berlin. She had a younger sister and her two parents. Her grandparents on her mother's side also lived in Berlin in a very beautiful house. They were very influential in the Jewish community in Berlin. This is a photograph of my mother on the right and her sister Vera on the left in 1939. So my mom would have been 12 and Vera would have been 10. And my grandparents, my grandfather Max and my grandmother Adele. And then in 1933, Hitler came to power and life changed very quickly. My grandfather was a judge, and so he lost his job within, in my mother's estimation, weeks or a month maybe, because no Jews would be allowed to have any kind of influence in a courtroom. School changed. The flag of Germany changed. The swastika became the flag of Germany. She remembered being outside in a little park as the flag was changing, and she remembers the looks on her parents' faces. And that's when she was 5. And I think there were fond memories after that, but that was a big turning point. My grandparents were there until March of 1943 when they were deported. They never were able to get out of Germany. My mother and her sister were sent to Jewish foster parents in Holland in June of 1939. And my mother didn't go back to Germany, but her younger sister ended up back in Berlin with their parents and was deported with them in March of 1943. She was in 6 concentration camps. So she was in the first concentration camp in southern Holland, and then she was in Auschwitz-Birkenau, and in 4 other concentration camps, kept getting moved. And she was doing labor in all of them. But she was with a group called the Phillips Group. She was saved by the Phillips Corporation. So Fritz Phillips of the Phillips Corporation. A Dutch corporation, and once Holland was taken over by the Nazis, they had to work for the Nazis. Mr. Phillips set up a factory. He went to the Nazis, the Gestapo was running this concentration camp in southern Holland, and he said, let me use Jewish women. They have more dexterity in their fingers, which isn't true. But that was believed, the Gestapo believed it, so he had working for him, not getting paid. Again, it was slave labor, and the goods were going to the Nazis. About 800 Jewish women in this concentration camp, and it saved her life, even though she wasn't working for them all the way through, because they got extra food, a little bit, a couple hundred calories a day, paid for by Phillips and brought in by Phillips. They were working inside, and they worked a little bit fewer hours. She was liberated just before her 18th birthday. We're going to walk through the St. Louis Kaplan Feldman Holocaust Museum, and I'll point out a few things that I talk to when I'm taking a group through the museum, because I serve as both an educator and as a second-generation speaker. Almost everything you see in this museum is anything personal is related to somebody who lived in St. Louis, a survivor who came to St. Louis. So we have around 900 survivors who came to St. Louis after the war, and in this gallery we have photos of many of them with their families, at work, through the years, family events. All of this was so important to them, and on this wall we have a moving list of everybody so we can see everybody's name. It's really, really important to see the names of people. This is a photograph of Gus Schoenfeld. He came to St. Louis after the war. As far as we know, he is the only survivor in this photograph. Gus grew up to become a very prominent doctor here in St. Louis and was on the team that developed the drug Lipitor, which is a cholesterol-lowering drug. The significance of that, besides the millions of lives he helped save, is this is one person who lived. What about the others, the millions and millions of people who didn't survive, who were killed, and whose families never grew, and we don't know what the world has lost.